Well, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day. Thank you for tuning in to another virtual class from Encompass Parts. They want to be your best. They're your only parts distributor. We ask that's who provides this class, and we want to make sure that we give them their just due, because without this, you wouldn't be having a virtual class. So I see that right now we have 9 participants there. We're going to talk today simply about common Icemaker issues. Most of the issues that we have with today's Icemakers, there's two major different problems that we have. One is the customer calls and it won't produce ice. That's usually what you get the call for. The other call that you could be getting is that you get the customer has water on the floor. Those issues are fairly easy to fix. Some of them are a little bit more time consuming. We're going to go over a little bit different Icemaker. It's from LG, and it actually, I like it a lot. I do partake in a little drinking of whiskey every now and again, and this is an Icemaker that's very, very, very in line of what I need for if I'm going to have a glass of whiskey. That way, it's a 1 inch. It's a 2-inch round ball, and it's a craft ice is what it's called, from LG. I really like it, especially for this. Maybe if I was drinking my normal either iced tea or water, I probably wouldn't want that one for me. But for craft ice like this, it's great for particular issues. So we're going to go over that one. We're going to start with the Samsung Icemaker. The Samsung Icemaker is probably, out of the Icemakers that are out there, it's either the Samsung or this new Icemaker from Electrolux, are the ones that I'm hearing the most about. So we're going to start with the Samsung issue with Icemakers. But what are the top 3 Icemaker issues? Water filter, power interruption, and inlet water issues. So It could be that the customer hadn't changed the filter in a while. That is a whole lot more difficult job sometimes than just popping a water filter out. I had one about 5 or 6 years ago that the customer hadn't changed it in like 2 years, and the carbon in the filter had actually broken down and gotten into the water line, and I actually had to unhook it the uh, from the line, make a spacer, and hooked my wet dry back, turned it around so that I could blow through it. Made a little I don't know what you would call it, but made it so I could push air back out. So I unhooked it from the water line from the filter, and then the water line that was going into the tank. That was where my problem was, and from there I could move it out. Sometimes you're going to find that the water filter, the line coming from there, actually freezes up, depending on what the customer has the temperature set at in the. I'm sorry. Depending on what the temperature is set at in the refrigerator section of the unit, a lot of today's ice makers use especially on a 4-door refrigerator, they have a unit, and that's what we're going to deal with on many of these ice makers. Is that the unit is actually in the refrigerator section on a 4-door unit, and that's one of the problems. Power interruption. Usually the customer can take care of this, but some of the times you're probably going to find that you're going to get a customer calling. You get out there and it was a power interruption. You have to reset the whole refrigerator, and it comes back on. Okay. Then if I've got an inlet water issue, this usually happens whenever I'm living in a newer neighborhood, or if I've had somebody that has been out working on my inlet, my water line that comes into my home. It can cause some of the particles to be thrown back into my water valve, and I end up having to replace the water valve. Okay. So let's go back, and we're going to talk about the Samsung one that I previously mentioned. Okay, this is the one that I don't know about everybody else. My father has one of these units in a Samsung 4-door refrigerator. His unit, we replace the ice maker about once a year because it just quits. If we thaw it back out and it worked, and if we put it into a forced defrost, let it run about 45 minutes is about what it takes for his. It will literally work for about a week, and then it'll quit. So we end up having to replace the ice maker itself. So we can go through and kind of sit and talk about these. All right. So one of the things that you're going to need, no matter what manufacturer it is I need to know what do the dispenser buttons mean. If I'm on a Samsung, I need to know how to put it into a forced defrost. How do I go and look at any of the error codes that are around? These are all controlled by the dispenser itself. Okay, so if I'm going to check the ice maker to see if it needs to be replaced, which is what I ended up doing, having to do with my father's, we have a forced defrost. Then we're going to go through removal of the ice maker and then reinstallation of the ice maker. Okay, so the right side dispenser assembly buttons, they're going to be, I'm going to touch the ice maker power button. You can turn the ice maker on and off with that. If you hold it for 3 seconds, you'll lock the dispenser itself. These other features like drawer features, lock button will appear in the display. This will allow for the ice maker or the flex zone to control it. and then holding it again for 3 seconds returns it to normal operation. After pressing the refrigerator button, you can raise and lower the temperature on this. The same thing happens to adjust the temperature on the freezer section. If the button is held by 3 seconds, for 3 seconds, it activates the power cool. Or if I'm holding the freezer section, of course, that's going to do my power freeze. Okay, why do I use these 2 buttons? Okay, if I go to the grocery store and I buy a lot of meat and I'm going to freeze it, I'm probably going to turn on power freeze because it holds the freezer at a it tells it that the freezer is the main thing that I'm going to take care of, and it holds that temperature and will make it run a whole lot more than it normally would. Okay, so you use this anytime the door is open for an extended period of time, which would be, basically whenever I go to the grocery store and get a bunch of either produce or something that I'm going to put milk, that drinks of that kind. Then the freezer section, could be I'm buying frozen dinners. Could be that I'm buying meat. It could be that I'm buying frozen vegetables. But I want to instigate a power freeze and a power refrigerator whenever I do that. So the center button allows the light to be switched on or off. You can hold it for 3 seconds. It will change the temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius. You may get this call of a customer that says, "Hey, all of a sudden I get this really weird temperature." Well, that's what it's gonna happen. Okay, I've turned it from Fahrenheit into Celsius. So that is the right center button. Okay. So our left side dispenser buttons so if I depress the freezer button, it allows for adjustment of the temperature in the freezer. Holding the freezer button for 3 seconds turns it into a power freeze, which is what we already have talked about. Okay. The center button allows for a chime when the door is open. Holding the button 3 seconds activates filter reset. You're going to need that because some of the times you're going to be out there and you're going to have to change the filter out, and you need to know how to reset the button and not have to ask the customer. So holding that center button activates that filter reset. Okay. What is an energy saver? It's the mullion heater on the outside of the door. If you turn it off, it saves energy. But the problem is in the South, your doors will sweat. My house is in Daytona Beach. I have never turned mine off because every time I do, I get water, and I've actually had water drip on the floor. Okay. So let's go ahead and start talking about some of the things with the Icemaker. Okay. So if I'm going to check the Icemaker, first thing I want to do is if I think that I have a problem, is I'm going to check the sensor, the Icemaker sensor, and of course I need to know the resistance. So I'm going to set it to the ohm scale. I'm going to compare with the temperature table after I get done. It's in the actual, if you pull the Icemaker, if you pull the toe plate, it's in one of two places. It's either in a little it's a little envelope on the side, or it's on the back of the refrigerator, and that's depending on what year your refrigerator was made. Okay, so if I'm going to check it, I can check it in the ohm scale. Then if I'm going to check the sensor checkpoint, okay, my heat sink, I'm going to compare the temperature in the table after measuring, and then I can check from the common PCB to the ground. That that's my checks that I can do right now. So here's the problem that most people experience with this issue. This is the problem that my dad has. I have tried to fix it. We're going to talk about fixing it. I've still got a leak that appears to be coming in because I keep having this issue. Now, one of the things that I have not done that I will do the next time that I do it will be to seal around the tube outside where the inlet comes in. Okay, so the Icemaker, you get this excessive buildup. Okay, I check for leaks around the Icemaker. So what I do is I open the door to the refrigerator on the left side. I shine my light and I see if I have any light that I can see looking at the back on the right side right side of that thing. If I can see that light, if I can see a light going through there, I'm going to have to seal that. Okay. How am I going to do that? Usually I use just I try to find a RTV sealant that is safe for the customer. I can put that in there. I can go and put me a little line down and to help seal it. The other thing that you see around there is whenever I pull my bin out, my Icemaker bucket bin, I need to make sure that has a good seal in the gasket around there. If I don't, I'm going to get that problem because it sucks all the moisture from the refrigerator inside. I have already made a different gasket to fix it for my dad's. One of the other things is if you replace the ice bucket, okay, please be sure to use the new clip that goes in it. If you don't use that clip, it won't lock into place and it will pop out. Okay. So how am I going to, if I see this, the first thing I'm going to do is I know that I have to put it in a forced defrost. If I'm looking at this, I probably had issues with getting the bucket out itself. My dad's at one time had so much moisture that had built up that I couldn't even get the bucket out. Okay. So I've got to thaw this out so that I can at least do some checking for the Icemaker. Okay. So I'm going to put it into a forced defrost mode. Okay. Once again, I've got to be very careful whenever I'm defrosting. I'm going to thaw it out before you try to remove the Icemaker. If you don't take this Icemaker and just do all the steps and just try to pull this Icemaker out, you run a really good risk of rupturing the refrigerant line that goes through this Icemaker. If I do that, I might as well go ahead and just take the refrigerator with me because you just bought a refrigerator. There's no way to fix it. You can't even use you can't use the lock ring system even to repair that because it's just one. You could probably try. I haven't heard of anybody that has been successful because what happens is, and we're going to get into it, and I'll show you where you take it down and put it back up. The gap is a little difficult, but I haven't tried that. So if somebody has tried that, let me know if you had any success. This line is very thin, so it worries me. So what I've got to do is I've got to separate the Icemaker and the refrigeration tube before I try to remove it. If the line ruptures, then you're going to have to replace the whole refrigerator. All right. So how do I put this unit into forced defrost? I've become an expert at this. I press the freezer button and the lighting button and hold that down for about 3 to 5 seconds. It says 8 On my dad's, it's about 5. Okay. But the reason that I know that I have it put um, into the mode is it will beep. Okay. Whenever I put it into mode, it beeps at me. Okay. So once the unit is in the forced defrost, again, it's going to beep. So I get one little beep whenever I get it into forced defrost. Plus, I get a few display numbers in there. Once I advance it up to forced defrost, the unit will beep again. Okay, you're going to need to scroll through the modes by pushing the lighting button. That's how I advance it through the modes. One of the other things that I'm going to do is whenever I get to the mode that actually tells me any issues that I have, the unit thinks that it has had, then it will show up, and I need to write those down. Okay, depending on let's see, you will need to scroll through. Once you scroll through, you're going to have FD in the display. That tells me that I'm in the forced defrost. Whenever I stop, it'll beep at me. Okay, depending on how iced over it is, this thing can run from 20 minutes up to an hour. Usually, by the time that I get to my dad's, his is so frosted up that it runs, 45 to 50 minutes before it even comes out of the forced defrost. If you're unable to remove the bucket or the unit still is not defrosted, I may have to manually defrost the unit. I would tell you that if I'm going to use that, the last time that I did it at my dad's house, I was able to remove the bucket. But once it went through forced defrost, I still had a lot of ice build up. And I actually had to get a steamer and steam it out. That took care of my issue. His was actually frozen all the way back to where the auger motor wouldn't even turn. Wouldn't it turn the auger in the unit? Okay, so here's we're going to talk about how do I get my Icemaker out. Okay, there's a screw right there on the bottom left side. I'm going to take that screw out. I'm going to take and pull that cover to me. Okay, that exposes the wiring harness. I can separate the plug, and all I got to do is press the tab to separate the plug, and it will come up. It will just lift out. Actually, the one on my dad's pushes down, and then I can get it to where I can remove the Icemaker. As you can tell, this is an Icemaker that really doesn't seem to have had very many problems. Okay. One of the other things that I can check is let's see if I have a picture of that. No, it's not. Okay. So once I remove that, there's a sensor right there for the Icemaker. If that sensor is bad, how do I check that? I unplug it. I pulled it off. I've set it into a glass of ice water. Once I put it into the glass of ice water, I check it on the my temperature, and that should be right at 32 degrees. Water freezes or water thaws at 32 degrees. Okay, so then once I do all this and verify everything's good, after I've done my forced defrost, I'm going to remove the screw that's highlighted right there on the right side. I'm going to have to be careful. I may, whenever I go to the next one, right there with that, whenever I go to push that over, I may have an issue, and I may still have to use my steamer to help me to lower that down. I have had my dad's be so difficult that I did have to reach and put my steamer right up into where the venting is. Okay. So my Icemaker, once again, I'm going to push and pry to the right there. Once I remove that screw. Okay. Once I remove that screw, I can see the the refrigerant line that runs through this ice maker. So I have to be very careful whenever I go to remove the ice maker out. I actually have to kind of be very careful. I actually try to take and with my finger, try to bend down on it just a little bit, not much, just a hair amount. This is where you got to be careful, because if you rupture that line, you have bought a whole refrigerator, not just an ice maker. But once again, this line is very thin. It's an aluminum line, and that's going to be your problem. Okay, so I'm going to separate the ice tray from the duct. That's with a flat bladed screwdriver. I'm going to gently pry down, and I'm going to pull on the tab, just like it shows right there in the top thing. Then I'm going to separate the refrigerant line from the ice maker, being very careful not to damage the line. Only use your fingers to separate the line from the bottom of the ice maker. Do not use a screwdriver. It will cause you may rupture the line. Okay. Then once I've done all of that, I can now depress the clip and slide the ice maker forward. Okay. So I'm going to pull the ice maker forward, then it's going to come down. I've got to be very careful that I don't just drop it down, because once again, I've got that line that's going through there. I'm going to watch it as I pull it all the way out. That's the one thing that I worry the most about, is that I'm going to damage that line. I'm going to remove the ice maker from the refrigerator. I can click the harness by depressing the tab and routing the wire into place. Okay, so when the ice maker is moved, remove the cavity. You need to, if you've got any kind of frost or anything else in there, I want to make sure that if I've got my steamer right there with me, I put down a towel and some other stuff down in the box and go ahead and get rid of any frost or anything that's in there. The one that I had to do on my dad's, back at the like I told you before, the auger motor had frozen up. It got so frosted in there that it actually stopped the auger motor from running. I was worried that I was going to that I had ruined that he had ruined the motor that turns the auger motor. Luckily it wasn't, and we were able to do it. But before I get to it, I'm going to inspect the fill tube. Okay. I have to have it I'm going to ensure the proper distance using my inspection mirror. This unit has the fill tube inserted correctly, which if you see right there, it's showing it. If you don't expect it, it can cause a buildup issues with the new ice maker or the bucket. If you need to adjust the fill tube length, we're going to go through that in the next slide, and make sure that to place down flooring protection, because I'm going to have to pull the refrigerator out. I don't want to damage anybody's floor. And then the other thing that I've got to be very careful of is the clearance of the water line. Okay, so if you pull this refrigerator out, this is what it looks like on the back side. Okay, the refrigerator pulled out. I'm going to remove the tape holding the water line in place. If I need to adjust how much fill tube I have on the inside, I'm going to remove the tape from the water line that's in place. I'm going to remove the screw clamp that's holding both the water lines in place. Then I'm going to depress the locking collar with a small flat-bladed screwdriver to remove the excess line. If I needed more line, I'm going to push it in. So I'm going to still have to have that depressed. Okay. After the adjustments are made, I'm just going to reinstall the locking clip and place the unit, the tape back over it. Whenever I did my dad's, the tape was no good. His was a couple of years old whenever it first started having problems, and it's 11 years old now. So I had to replace it. You can use any kind of tape. I used a clear masking tape just to replace it. Okay. I'm going to stop right there. Does anybody have any questions? And hello, Rupert. Glad to see you today. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, we're going to continue to go. Okay, so once I get it all done and I get it all defrosted, then I have to reinstall it. So I'm going to replace the new ice maker. I'm going to put it in the housing, slide it in until it clicks. I have to be very careful at the very top. There are two screws that I'm going to slide this into, and I have to make sure that I lock that in so that it's normal. It has normal operating. It normally operates. So I got to be very careful. The tube is actually I separate it down so that I can watch it whenever I push it back. Okay. So I'm going to move the refrigerant line to the bottom of the ice maker housing. I'm going to press it back up, lock it back into place. I'm going to put my screws back into it that we just removed, that we had removed off the other one. We're going to reinstall the ice duct tray and the screw that's outlined. We're going to route the harness, click the harness together, depress the tab, and routing the harness into the place. Then we're going to install the cover and the screw, install the ice maker bucket, have the customer throw away the first two batches of ice. If something happens and the customer doesn't throw it away, it will cause IBS. It has a coating on the outside that, while it's not toxic to customers, it's almost like cooking oil, the spray that they use on it. Okay. So now we're going to come to my next favorite. This is my favorite ice maker for this. Usually this ice maker is down in the bottom of the LG refrigerator. This ice maker produces with craft ice. Usually this is on a 4-door refrigerator, and this the upper ice maker has which is the ice and water through the door, uses it's a flex tray ice maker, but this LG craft ice is not nothing like the other ice maker. Okay, so this is the operation for the new craft ice. As you can tell, it goes through a little fill tube. It drops it into the center tray. It actually starts and fills up all three sides. Whenever it goes through, it tells the unit that, hey, I'm ready to dump, and then we have the dumping procedure. So this is actually a picture of the craft ice. Okay, like I said, we're gonna go through the next one here. Okay, this ice drops it into a ball just like that right there. This ice is great for something that I don't want it to melt really fast. So it's great for that. It's 2 inches in diameter. So it's a good sized ball of ice, and that's why it's so great for a drink that I'm going to have. Okay, so the first thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that ice maker is turned on. Okay, whenever we get done here, we're going to spend a couple of minutes and we're going to discuss some of the issues that I have been told from both the salesperson for LG. I have a friend that's a regional salesperson, and she has told me she has had told me about some of the craft ice issues that she has seen. We had somebody in Encompass that contacted me and said, "Hey, listen, can you give me a hand with my craft ice? We love it, but it doesn't always work like it should." So we're going to go through some of those issues. So just stay tuned before we move into the next segment. Okay. So if it's turned on, turn it off, and this resets the ice maker. Okay. Then it's going to take it about 18 to 30 hours for it to reset. Okay. So you're not going to be able to do it whenever you show up. The thing for you to do is ask the customer to turn the ice maker off, let it sit for 24 hours, turn it back on, and then see if that reset fixes the issue. If it does not fix the issue, then have her call you back and come out, and you know that you already have done the reset. That way that ice maker reset has already been done. So the only thing you're going to have to tell them is where the on-off switch for the ice maker is. Okay. So if I need to do this, I'm going to have to remove the ice bucket and place a large container underneath where the bucket was placed. Okay. Then I'm going to press the test button for 3 seconds. That is going to put this into a test mode. Okay. It will go through 3 steps. The first thing that you're going to do is I'm going to have the water come in. Then the second thing I'm going to do is ice making. And then the third thing that will happen is it goes into a harvest. Okay. After the test is completed, replace the bucket in the same position as it was before you started the test. If I'm going to have to remove this unit, the first thing I got to do is take the front plate off. Okay. Once I do that, I'm going to take the drawer out and remove the shelf. Then I'm going to take out the right side screw first. As you can see, it's right there. Okay. Then I'm going to remove those 2 top screws. Okay. Once I do that, the ice maker, I'm going to be really careful with that because I'm going to have the same thing. As I pull down, it's going to drop. Once I do that, I got to be very careful that I don't break the Mullinex plug because if the Mullinex plug is snapped, I'm probably going to have to replace the ice maker. Okay. So I'm going to unplug the Mullinex plug. If something happens and I break this Mullinex plug off, if it breaks on the ice maker side, I'm good. If it's not, then I really have problems because this is on the bottom side of the refrigerator. Okay. So reassembly. Once again, all we're going to do is you're going to hook the assembly. Okay. On the right side, right there, you can see the button. Troubleshooting. Now we're going to talk about troubleshooting. Okay. 3, this is something before I go into it and get all the way and do anything else. Once I put it into the harvest and do a test cycle, okay, I've got to do some checks. I need to check the temperature. What is the temperature inside the refrigerator, inside the freezer? Okay. Make sure that the ice maker is turned on. Make sure the water filter is new and not clogged. So you're going to have to ask the customer, when's the last time that you replaced the water filter? Okay, I'm going to make the light switch, push it in. So it push it in and then let it out, push it in and let it out about 3 or 4 times just to make sure that the light switch is working, because if that's what controls the ice maker. Okay. Then I'm going to check the water valve if that's that's the last thing I'm going to check. Okay. So my ice maker, my temperature inside my freezer should be no higher than 0 degrees. If it's higher than 0 degrees, the ice maker may shut itself off and must be restarted, which will cause another 18 to 30 hour delay. If the freezer has If the freezer has had production product added, it will raise the temperature. So I'm going to have problems in my freezer section with my craft ice maker if, excuse me, if the I've just put a whole bunch of things into the freezer section. Okay. Then number two, the ice maker on off may be located on the ice maker, or it could be on the display. It's normally on the ice maker itself. 99 times out of 100, it's on the ice maker itself. Make sure you know where it is and that the ice maker is turned on. So as me being a technician, one of the things that I always used to ask the staff that whenever that I had answering calls, I gave them a list of things that I needed to know. Number one was, the model and serial number. And if they could take a picture of that and send it, especially with this craft ice maker, they're going to be 20, basically you're going to be 30 hours before they're going to call you back and let you know that it worked or didn't. So make sure that you get a picture of it. That way I can go, excuse me. That way I can go and check it on the board and look up the ice maker to see where the on off switch is for the ice maker itself. Like I said, that's what will drive you crazy is if there's no on off switch on the ice maker itself and it's actually in the display. Okay. Number three, that's make sure that you have the proper flow of water coming into the ice maker. If I don't, then I'm going to check the water filter and the installation and make sure that it's been changed recently. If that's correct, then I have to make sure that the water line is not frozen. I actually, what I used to do is I carried a bucket and some towels with me, and I would bring that in, especially if I'm working on an ice maker in anybody's ice maker inside the home. That way I could catch any water that I got, but I could take and unhook if I had suspected that I had a water pressure issue, what I could do is I could turn the water off. Usually it's at the sink. I'm going to put that, then I'm going to unhook that water line that comes in, put that into my bucket. I'm going to turn that on I'm going to turn it on and look to see how much water's coming out. It may be that the valve itself that is coming from the sink is bad. It all depends. So I've got to be careful and make sure that I have the proper water pressure that comes through. Okay. If somebody is has an RO system and they don't have that system bypassed, I'm always going to have issues with I'm going to always have issues with low water pressure. Okay. So make sure the light switch is operational because like I said, the light switch controls the ice maker. It will not function if the light switch itself is bad. Okay. So make sure the water valve is operational. The ice maker won't operate if the water valve doesn't work properly. Pull the refrigerator out. Going to protect the floor. Always protect the floor. Cycle the ice maker and test the power to the water valve. If you have power to the valve, then ensure that the line that runs up the back of the refrigerator to the ice maker is not frozen. And then I'm going to protect it by using towels. Okay. So we're going to stop right there. We're going to go back to this one. Now I'm going to ask you, does anybody have any questions so far? Because we're going to sit and talk about this ice maker. Does anybody have any questions on this ice maker? Okay. Okay. So we had a customer that actually was having a problem with their Rupert, what is heat vesting? What do you mean by heat vesting? So one of the things that, like, I'm going to go back while Rupert types his answer in. One of the things that we had a customer that the light switch itself was on and off. It didn't work. It worked. It didn't work all the time. So what would happen is, like I said, this controls. Uh, Rupert, I don't understand what you're trying. That's what I'm saying. What is heat venting? What are you trying to say about heat venting? You're saying that no, don't do that, Rupert. I'm trying to understand what you're talking about. When do you get that popping? Is that whenever the ice maker goes into harvest? But anyway, so we actually figured out that her light switch was not working properly, so we had to replace the light switch. Okay, so it's which ice maker is this, Rupert? Is this on that Samsung or is this on the this LG? Um, so we found out that the light switch was bad. We had another one that the other thing was that the customer hadn't changed the water filter in almost a year, and that was their problem. And this is one that we had problems with. So you've always got to have a good supply of water coming to your ice maker. How do I know that I have a good supply? Usually I can. Okay, okay, Rupert. You know what? I have not heard that. So whenever that ice maker cycles, you get a pop. Is the popping caused by the ice being ejected from the flex tray? Uh, as everybody can tell, this is a little difficult. I wish that we could have just a session where we could take and Rupert could ask his question. Okay. I would tell you that's probably normal. If I'm not mistaken, it deals with that issue whenever look at a customer manual on this and see if it doesn't. I don't have that information uh, available to me right now. But I tell you what I'm going to do, Rupert. If you will, my information is scrolling along the bottom of the refrigerator. Send me either a text message or send me an email, and that way I will have your information. I'm going to contact my rep for LG and have them help me understand your question. So kind of give me a step, Rupert, and I will get you that answer, and I'll send it back to you whenever I get the reply from the LG rep. Will that work for you? I have not heard of that issue, but I'm thinking that it is when the ice is coming out. It's called. That's what you're getting the popping sound. Okay, thanks, Rupert. So this other problem was, like I said, we had basically two issues that I'm really aware of. Okay, one was the light switch, and this was intermittent. So it worked part of the time, didn't work part of the time, worked part of the time. So it just drove the customer crazy. But it ended up being the light switch. And then the other one that I've been aware of was a customer didn't change their water filter. Does anybody else? Rupert's has had a popping issue. Has anybody else had any issues with this craft ice? Like I said, I really like this craft ice. They're talking about. I have a friend that works for LG, and they're talking about coming out with this craft ice in a little dispenser that you would have, if I wanted to use it behind my bar, I would get this craft ice, that kind of dispenser. Okay, does anybody else have any issues? I know that Lisa at Encompass contacted me and had problems, and I actually I couldn't fix hers, so I had to contact the LG rep, and they sent somebody out, and I've yet to hear back from them on what was the issue and what they did to fix it. So that's one of the things that I try to do. If you guys have an issue and you send an issue to me, I go to the manufacturer's rep. If I don't know 100% that I'm 100% right, I go to the manufacturers. I send your example to the regional service manager for them, and then they get back with me, and then I get back with you. This helps me because if I have issues and I have a class, I can talk about this. Like I said, the two issues that I have heard was a water issue because I didn't get enough. They didn't change the filter properly, and then the other one was the light switch was bad. But this is the first that I had heard of, Rupert. So kind of give me a beginning to end. Kind of don't just send me a little small. Hey, it was what you just said. Harvesting making. When it's harvesting, it's making a loud noise. Okay, give me during the harvest cycle. Where's it at in the harvest cycle that you've seen? Where and all that other information, and I'll get back to you. I promise. Okay, so the next one here, I'm going to. I actually have this refrigerator. I have two refrigerators at my house. I have a Frigidaire Electrolux 4-door. Mine is an Electrolux 4-door. I actually used to work for Electrolux, so I got the discounted rate, and I loved it. But I will tell you that the problem you have is whenever I was a regional manager for Electrolux, but I was on the last mile side. So we took care of all of the installations, but I used to get product at a discount. So I was able to go ahead and I had this Electrolux 4-door refrigerator, but you have got to change the the water filter. If you don't change the filters, you're going to have total problems. And that's just a fact of life. Okay, so if I've got an ice maker and I'm not making any ice, or I have slow production to the ice maker, okay, with this unit, and this is the unit that I actually have, okay, I take those and press those two buttons, okay. This is how I put it into a forced defrost, okay. I'm going to press those simultaneously. It says 10 seconds, but I just always wait and hold it because it's for me. I got to hit it simultaneously. Okay, I have to put them both in, hold them down simultaneously, and then I can hear the button. I can hear the beep, and it will be good to go. Okay, So then I will wait for the letters DF to appear. Okay. When that appears, that tells me that I am in a forced defrost. If you want to stop a forced defrost, you press those same two buttons around 10 seconds and it will take it out of forced defrost. But I can also go through whenever I also can go through and check any issues that the refrigerator thinks that I'm having problems. Okay. So if I'm having problems removing the ice maker, one of the things that I can do is I can put my steamer, excuse me. I can put my steamer right there where that little where the steamer is showing up. Okay. The thing that I want to on any ice maker that I am trying to get free or get out, I don't use a heat gun anymore. I have stopped using a heat gun about probably 15 years ago, because you can always melt the liner of a refrigerator, or I can melt the ice maker doing this if I'm using a heat gun. Or it's just, I have more trouble than it's worth. With a steamer, I don't have to worry about it. Okay. So never use a heat gun. Don't use a hair dryer, even if it's set on the lowest setting. Don't. You just buy yourself. You can buy a steamer cheap. They're about $39 from Amazon, or you can just go to Encompass. Encompass carries a steamer, and get them from Encompass. That's what I would prefer you to do. They are a little bit higher, but okay. So many times this may fix your issue temporarily, but the problem usually will reappear. So I always say, let's go and find out what the real issue is. Okay. Before continuing, have a designated place to put the screws that you're going to remove. Okay. I'm going to make sure that whenever I take everything apart, that I put my screws in one place that I can readily associate with them. Because if I don't, those screws may be 3 different sizes of screws, 4 different sizes of screws. I've got to know where those screws go, or else I'm going to put it in the wrong hole, and then I could destroy something. Okay, just make sure that that you put them in the same place. What I do whenever I was a technician is I had a bath towel that I would usually lay on the counter, and as I get through, I would take my screws out and put them right there, and then I would put the part that I was taking off right there next to it. That way, I kept it so that I didn't have the screws mixed up. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove to get the ice maker out. You're going to have to take the 2 screws, 1/4-inch screws out. Okay. And then I can pop this little cover off. Okay. So the first thing I do is I take out, I don't know why, but I usually start from the very bottom, take those off, and then I go to the top, take that off. I'll take those 2 screws, put them on my towel. Then I will pop off the screws. What I can do is put my hand under the face, can lift up and pull out, and that will help. Me get this piece out. Then like I said, I put it on a towel to protect it from the damage. Okay. Then once I do that, I've got to remove 2 more screws. Okay. Those also are 1/4-inch screws. You can see those 2 are where those 2 are located. Okay. The first time that you do this, you're going to spend more time than you will probably close to changing a compressor. This is not easy like it used to be. It used to be so easy. My refrigerator that I have that is so old. All you had to do to take the Icemaker out was loosen 2/4 inch screws that were in the top of the Icemaker, lift up on it, move it over to the side, pull it down, unplug it, and then I just took it. You could take it and replace the Icemaker or cycle it, or if something happened and I needed to clean it out because one of the problems that I had was it actually got stuck. The Icemaker got stuck because it didn't harvest. It didn't harvest all the way, and whenever it got stuck, I ended up having to pull the Icemaker out so that I could wash it out in the sink. Okay, so I'm going to remove these 2 screws. Once I remove those 2 screws, I can drop that cover, letting the cover drop down and pulling it out. So I have to pay attention when removing the cover and remember where the tabs go. Okay, this gives me access to this Icemaker. Okay, once again, I'm going to put this Icemaker in the protected area. Okay, now once I have that cover removed, I can now have access to this Icemaker. Now you can see that I have 2 different Mullinex plugs that are accessible, and I'm going to have to unplug both of these Mullinex plugs, just like here. Okay. Then I'm going to press the tab on the Icemaker up so that I can remove it. Next, remove the housing by pulling it forward. Okay. So once I do that, I can pull it forward. I have to support it with my hand. I'm going to lean it down, and then it's going to expose it. It's going to look just like this. So what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to take a pair of side cutters. I don't like scissors. I would use side cutters, dikes, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to use a pair of side cutters, and I'm going to snip those because I've got to get in the zip tie. Got to get the zip tie so that I can take this out. Okay. Once I get to that, I can now remove this whole top. Okay. The one thing I've got to do that I didn't say was I got to get these 2 Mullinex plugs up and out. I have to be careful of that. There's 2 screws in the top assembly. After removing the 2 screws, you can set the assembly, set the shelf so you can reroute the harness through the top hole. If you look on the bottom side, that's a little bit more difficult. Picture right there. It's not as well as I thought it would be, but it literally shows you where the hole that I have to push my Mullinex plugs through. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm now ready to remove the whole assembly. Okay, be careful. Pull the assembly forward, taking care not to damage the wiring harness that's in red. You're gonna, once you remove it, I'm gonna place it in the protected area so that I know exactly where everything is. Okay, now excuse me. This is all of the pollen that we have starting. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this cover. Okay. With this cover, I have 3 screws that I have to remove. And I see that for some reason, my circle did not show up. I wonder what happened. You will need a long nut driver or a 12-inch bit in my screw gun. I prefer using a nut driver, but you do whatever works for you. So whenever I get ready to put all this back into place, I always carried a little piece of plumber's putty with me. Whenever because this screw, I'm trying to remember if this screw, I've been working on a couple of these lately. I don't think this screw's magnetized. So if I try to put it in, it just falls off. But I take my plumber's putty, stick it in the inside of my nut driver, put my screw on it. That holds my screw in place. You can also use, I mean, I had a guy that used to use bubble gum or gum itself or a piece of tape, just something to hold it together. So that whenever I go to put this screw back in, I can find it. Okay. When removing the air handler, support it with something. Okay. I've got to be, if I don't, the problem is this air handler contains the 3 parts. Okay. This air handler controls the Icemaker auger motor. It controls, there's the thermostat in there, and there is the fan that's in there. So I've got to be very careful, and it's heavy. So if I don't drop it, you're going to have the customer come in and say, "Are you okay?" Okay. So we want to remove the harness from the handler, and I've got to pinch this Mullinex plug together that's highlighted so that I can pull it all the way out. Now, let me tell you, whenever you go to put this all back together, this is very difficult the first time you do it. Okay. So now we can inspect the cover to look for issues. You're more than likely going to need to remove it. How do I do that? I put a little small screwdrivers right there. You can look, you can tell that there's a little piece for the plug that I can actually depress that and push that back to the right side. And then I can get that Mullinex plug out. That will give me total access to it, and we'll be good. Okay. So we're going to remove that Mullinex plug from the holder, and I can remove the harness. Once I do that, I can take a look at it. If you look at it, you can see right here, there's 2 pictures here. Okay. So the reason that the issue had occurred and I was getting air into the unit itself was that the gasket was bad. Not only that, you can't really tell in the picture that's just below it, but that inlet was messed up. I tried to take a good picture of it, but I thought it was a whole lot better, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it failed. So what would happen is the Icemaker could never get rid of the frost buildup. It wouldn't melt it away. And after several defrost cycles, I would have problems with the unit freezing up again. If I'm going to do something and I'm going to replace everything, I'm going to order this kit. Granted, this kit is not cheap, but to keep me from having any problems any other place, this kit will totally fix any issue that I have. Okay. This is the part number. I can go to Amazon and I can buy this. And the problem is whenever you go through, it's missing some of the intricate pieces. So go to Encompass and order it from Encompass, and you get a whole lot better kit than the one that you get from Amazon. Okay. So does anybody have any questions so far? We'll stop right here and see if I can take any questions that you guys have. Okay. I don't see anybody with any questions. So once I have removed this, I have access and I can see everything in the back. Okay. That has any control over my Icemaker. So one of the things that is common with this is that this little Icemaker tube freezes. So it freezes the water, and it will never drain. So that causes me problems. So I've got to check this little drain. If I see, I'm going to take and pour some hot water. I don't use 250-degree water, but I can use 170-degree water, which is right, just before it boils, which is 212. It's hot enough that it'll flush any of the ice out that's built up in that tray, but it's not too hot so that it melts anything. Okay. If I pour the water and it runs straight down, I know that I don't have a problem there. So one of the other things that I'm going to check, okay, is I'm going to check the defrost sensor. I'm going to look at my defrost sensor. If it's all swollen up, I'm going to pull that defrost sensor off and I'm going to ohm it out, and I'll guarantee you it's going to be bad. If that defrost sensor is swollen, I'm going to have to replace it. Okay, there's a picture of a bad one and a good one, and I have to thank one of the people that helped help me with some of the issues, and I wanted to say thank you to him. But if you look, there's where that's the frost sensor is located. That's on the far left hand side of that picture. Okay. The other thing is the back of the refrigerator. Whenever I pull that refrigerator out, if I have a rust spot, that tells me that I have an issue. Okay. That tells me that I probably have a waterlogged styrofoam. So I'm going to have to, the first thing that I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to undo that water, that styrofoam. I'm going to thaw it out so that it dries that styrofoam out. If I think that I'm not going to be able to do it, I may end up having to be very careful and cut it out around where that is. You have to be super careful because, once again, if you don't do it super carefully, you'll have problems with cutting something on the inside. Could be a wire, could be the water line, could be something, but you got to be very careful. Okay. I don't want to go all the way through. I'm just scoring it on the outside so that I can take this out. At that point, I can take and cut around that styrofoam, take a piece of styrofoam, put it back in, cover it up, and go on with it. Okay. So to reattach the parts, we're going to follow the instructions in the kit that they give you. Whenever you order this kit from Encompass, you get instructions. Just follow those. It's pretty simple. Okay. So always be careful replacing parts, especially the auger motor, the fan, and the wiring harness, and don't reverse the order. Whenever I'm putting all that back together, the hardest part of this is getting the auger motor. It's got a little U that's got a nut in it. What you can do is you can do several times. Some of the times I can get it whenever I just take and quickly yank on that auger, turn that auger motor really fast. If I can't, while I got it out, I can just lay that long screwdriver down and tap the side hard and see if I can get it to break free. Otherwise, I'm going to have to replace it. I have seen them where I could not get it off, and I ended up having to replace the auger motor and the clip that fits into the bucket that turns the fins to dispense the ice. Okay. So what else could cause issues with water through the door? No matter what brand it is, what else could we talked about ice makers and problems with the ice makers. What else could cause my problem? Okay. We've taught that on every single one of them, we've talked about our water supply coming in, which the first thing we do is we ask the customer, when was the last time you changed the water filter? Okay. You'll be surprised. my ex-girlfriend didn't change the water filter for about 2 years, and then had the audacity to call me and go, "Hey, the refrigerator doesn't work. I need you to come by. My refrigerator quit working. I need you to come by and uh, and look at it." And I'm like, "Well, that's fine, uh, but when's the last time you changed the water filter?" "Oh, 2 years." I said, "What have you been doing?" It tells you there's a little indicator that shows that you have to change it. Why didn't you change it? "Oh, I just reset it." Well, that's going to be a problem. Okay. One of the things that I really like about GE is they do a lot of the stuff with their new their smart HQ device. It helps you. It helps the technician a whole lot. But what else can be some of the other issues? Somebody put something in there, because I'll tell you the first one that comes to mind with me. And me being one of the old timey technicians, if I've got a refrigerator and I have an ice maker problem, I hate to tell you this, but the first thing that I do is I walk up to the dispenser and I mash the dispenser to get some ice with my finger. Once I mash that to that dispenser, and you listen, you have to listen and listen for the pop. If you don't get the pop, that tells me that I have a problem with that dispenser motor, um, and I'm going to have to either change the flap. Frigidaire had some issues back in the early 2000s, with that flap, and you had to replace everything in it. Today, I think most of them you can just get pieces and fix it that way. But you need to know what the problem is. So if I don't hear that pop, then I have to figure out what the problem is. I have seen it where there was a chunk of ice that had melted, um, and or there was a chunk of ice that was hung in that flap, and until it melted, that was going to be the problem. So somebody else, give me something else. We got 5 people here. What, Rupert? Tell me, what's some of the other things that you've had with ice makers, with ice and water through the door where you had issues? We've got your LG that I'm gonna get you some answers on. Anything else? Okay. Well, I really appreciate everyone um, going ahead and spending time with me in our class today. I really want to thank you. I will tell you that um, one of the other things that I want you to do is I wanted to thank Encompass. They're the ones, they did give me a T-shirt. Um, they're the ones that are responsible for this class. So if you would just tell somebody, if you're talking to somebody at the parts house, tell them that you appreciate them footing the bill for a class that does not cost you any money. Okay. If you have any questions, my phone number is running right there. My information is scrolling across the bottom, along with Reggie's phone number and information. So if you need to reach out to me, if you'll send me a text message, or if you will go ahead and send me an email, I'll get back to you. I try to get back to you within 24 hours. It all depends on if I'm driving or not. Like, I'll leave here today and I've got to go to over to Kennesaw, Georgia from Alabama. So, that's about a 4-hour ride. So I probably am not going to be available during that time. But if you catch me, I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Okay. Have a great day. I'm going to give you a little in stream. So thank you very much again. Have a